The inheritance cycle Eldest, the sun rose over the Beer Mountains, its golden rays illuminating the scarred battlefield outside Trondheim. Eragon Shadeslayer stood atop the city's walls, his keen eyes scanning the carnage below. The Battle of Farthander had been won, but at a terrible cost. The ground was littered with the bodies of Urgals and Varden alike, a grim reminder of the price of victory. Saphira, her sapphire scales glinting in the morning light, landed beside him with a gentle thud. Her mind touched his, a comforting presence amidst the turmoil of his thoughts. "We should be celebrating, little one," she said, her mental voice tinged with concern. "Why do you brood?" Eragon sighed, running a hand along her muscular neck. "We won the battle, Saphira, but the war is far from over. And I can't shake the feeling that this is only the beginning." As if to underscore his words, a searing pain shot through the scar on his back, a parting gift from the shade, Durs. Eragon grimaced, fighting to maintain his composure. The wound, resistant to magical healing, was a constant reminder of the challenges that lay ahead. Their moment of reflection was interrupted by the arrival of Ajihad, leader of the Varden. His dark face was etched with the wariness of command, but his eyes burned with an inner fire. "Eragon," he said, his deep voice carrying across the ramparts, "we've received word of Urgal movement in the tunnels. I'm leading a party to investigate. I want you and Saphira to remain here in case we need aerial support." Eragon nodded, straightening his posture. "Of course, sir. We'll be ready." As Ajihad and his men disappeared into the depths of Trondheim, Eragon couldn't shake a feeling of unease. Something about this didn't feel right. His instincts proved correct. Hours later, a lone dwarf emerged from the tunnels, bloodied and half-mad with terror. His incoherent ramblings painted a horrific picture. An ambush, Urgals appearing from nowhere, Ajihad and his men overwhelmed. The news hit the Varden like a physical blow. Ajihad, their stalwart leader, was dead. And in the chaos of succession, Eragon found himself thrust into the center of a political maelstrom. He was ill-prepared to navigate. Neshwada, Ajihad's daughter, emerged as the new leader of the Varden. Her first act was to move their forces to Surda, a small kingdom that had long resisted Galbatorix's rule. It was a bold move, one that would bring them out of hiding and into open conflict with the Empire. As preparations for the move began, Eragon received an unexpected summons. The elves, long absent from the affairs of humans, had extended an invitation for him to complete his training in their forest city of Eismea. The decision to go was not an easy one. Eragon felt torn between his duty to the Varden and his need to grow stronger, to become the rider that Alagacia needed. In the end, it was Saphira who tipped the scales. "We must go, little one," she said, her mental voice filled with excitement at the prospect of meeting more of her kind. "If we are to defeat Galbatorix, we need every advantage we can get." And so, with heavy hearts and minds full of anticipation, Eragon and Saphira bid farewell to their friends in the Varden. Accompanied by Aria, the elven ambassador, and Auric, their dwarf companion, they set out for the enigmatic forest of Duwelden Varden. The journey north was fraught with danger. They traveled under the cover of night, always wary of imperial patrols. Aragon spent the long hours of flight practicing. His grasp of the ancient language, guided by Arya's patient tutelage. As they neared the forest's edge, Aragon felt a change in the very air around them. Magic seemed to thrum through every leaf and branch, an ancient power that made his skin tingle with excitement and apprehension. Eldest was unlike anything Aragon had ever imagined. The elven city seemed to have grown organically from the forest itself. Trees shaped into graceful dwellings that defied human architecture. The elves themselves were ethereal beings, their features so perfect as to be almost unsettling. It was here that Aragon's true training began. Under the tutelage of Ormus, an ancient elf rider, and his dragon glider, Aragon and Saphira were pushed to their limits and beyond. Days blurred into weeks as Aragon immersed himself in the study of magic, history, and combat. He learned to extend his consciousness to every living thing around him, to draw energy from his surroundings, rather than depleting his own reserves. Saphira, too, grew in both size and wisdom, her bond with Aragon deepening in ways neither had thought possible. But even in this idyllic setting, the shadow of war loomed. News reached them of battles in the south, of the Varden's struggles against Galbatorix's forces. Aragon felt the weight of expectation growing heavier with each passing day. His training was not without its challenges. The lingering effects of Durza's wound plagued him, flaring up at the most inopportune moments. And there was the matter of Vanner, an elven sparring partner whose disdain for Aragon's human limitations was painfully clear. It was during one of these sparring sessions, as Aragon lay flat on his back after a particularly humiliating defeat, that something within him shifted. The pain in his back flared, more intense than ever before, and then release. Aragon stood, feeling changed in ways he couldn't quite articulate. His features had shifted, taking on more elven characteristics. His senses were sharper, his body stronger and more agile. The gift of the dragons, long dormant in his blood, had finally awakened. With his new abilities came a renewed sense of purpose. Aragon threw himself into his training, with a fervor that impressed even his elven teachers. He devoured ancient texts, unraveling the mysteries of magic and dragon lore. His sparring sessions with Vanner became more evenly matched, the elf scorned, gradually giving way to grudging respect. But even as Aragon grew in power and knowledge, events in the outside world marched on. Word reached Eldest of a massive battle brewing on the burning plains of Serda. The Varden, now allied with Serda's forces, were preparing to make a stand against Galbatorix's army. Torn between his duty to complete his training and his desire to aid his friends, Aragon made the difficult decision to return to the Varden. Ormus and Glader, though disappointed, understood the necessity. With their blessing, and armed with new knowledge and power, Aragon and Saphira prepared to re-enter the fray. The flight south was tense, both rider and dragon acutely aware of the battle that awaited them. As they neared the burning plains, the scale of the conflict became apparent. Vast armies stretched across the scorched landscape, the air thick with the sounds of clashing steel and the cries of the wounded. Aragon and Saphira's arrival on the battlefield was like a bolt of lightning, renewing the Varden's hope and shaking the confidence of the imperial forces. With his enhanced abilities and Sapphira's ever-growing strength, they turned the tide of battle, cutting swaths through enemy lines. But the Empire had an ace up its sleeve. As Aragon and Sapphira celebrated their apparent victory, a chilling roar split the air. A red dragon, nearly as large as Sapphira, appeared on the horizon, and on its back, a rider clad in black armor. The ensuing aerial battle was like nothing Alagasia had seen in over a century. Two dragons and their riders locked in mortal combat, magic and flame, illuminating the smoke-filled sky. Aragon and Sapphira fought with everything they had, but their opponent's skill was undeniable. In a moment of desperate clarity, Aragon managed to unseat the enemy rider, sending him plummeting to the ground. As they landed to confront him, Aragon felt a sense of foreboding. With trembling hands, he reached out and removed the rider's helmet. The face that stared back at him was itchingly familiar. Murtagh, his old friend and companion, now twisted into a servant of Galbatorix. The revelation hit Aragon like a physical blow. But there was more. "We're brothers, Aragon," Murtagh said, his voice a mixture of pain and bitter amusement. "Both sons of Morzan, first and last of the Forsworn." The world seemed to tilt on its axis. Everything Aragon thought he knew about himself, about his place in the world, was suddenly thrown into question. He was the son of a monster, the very antithesis of everything he had been fighting for. As Murtagh retreated, sparing Aragon's life out of some lingering sense of brotherhood, Aragon was left to grapple with the implications of this revelation. The victory on the burning plains felt hollow in the face of this personal devastation. In the aftermath of the battle, as the Varden tended to their wounded and counted their dead, Aragon sought solitude to process his tumultuous emotion. Sapphira's presence was a balm to his troubled mind, her unwavering love and support a reminder that he was more than just the sum of his parentage. "You are not Morzan, little one," she said, her mental voice filled with conviction. "You are Aragon Shadeslayer, my rider and partner of heart and mind. Your choices define you, not the circumstances of your birth." Slowly, painfully, Aragon began to come to terms with his new reality. He confided in Neshwada and Arya, drawing strength from their continued faith in him, and as the dust settled on the burning plains, he made a silent vow. He would not be defined by his father's legacy. He would forge his own path, one that would lead to freedom for all of Alagasia.